Beloved, I want you to hear me with the ear of spirit, not of flesh. A great miracle is already on its way to you. Not tomorrow, not in some distant season, but now, already moving, already prepared, already yours. The world may appear unchanged, but do not be deceived by appearances. Life always reflects the state of your inner assumption. When you accept within yourself that something wonderful is destined for you, the outer world has no choice but to conform. This is the law. So I tell you, get ready, not by waiting passively, but by preparing inwardly. Imagine the miracle as already here. Feel the joy of receiving it. Walk as though the prayer has been answered. To assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to fertilize the unseen with the power of God in you. Do not ask how or when. These are questions of the doubting mind. Simply know that the miracle is your birthright. The infinite has ways you cannot see. Trust the unseen hand that moves heaven and earth for you. I urge you now, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and say within, it is done. Carry that conviction into your day. Let gratitude rise in you, not for what will come, but for what already is. For the miracle has already been conceived in the womb of imagination, and soon it will step forth clothed in flesh. Therefore, rejoice, live in readiness, live in expectancy, live as one who already holds the treasure. The miracle is not coming, it is here. Receive it. A miracle is already prepared for you now, waiting in the unseen, fully formed in the realm of imagination, before it ever appears in the visible world. Just as a seed contains the entire tree within itself, so too does this miracle exist in perfection, complete and whole, even if your senses have not yet touched it. It does not need to be created, for it already is. It only awaits your recognition, your acceptance, and your willingness to claim it as yours. The moment you assume it to be true within, its unfolding in the outer world begins. The outer world reflects your inner assumption. For every event, circumstance, and encounter you experience is but a mirror of the state you carry within yourself. Life is not happening to you by accident. It is flowing from the pattern of your own consciousness. If you assume lack, life will show you countless forms of lack, confirming what you hold to be true. If you assume abundance, opportunity will appear, people will come into your path, doors will open, and you will witness the world reshaping itself to match your conviction. This is not imagination as fantasy, but imagination as the creative power of God in you. What you dare to believe and persist in assuming, regardless of appearances, must eventually harden into fact. The world cannot resist the blueprint impressed upon it by a sustained inner state. It is not enough to wish or hope. You must step into the feeling that what you desire is already yours, and allow that feeling to saturate your being. As you walk, speak, and think from this state, the outer world bends itself to your assumption, because the law of consciousness is unfailing and life is compelled to reflect the image you carry within. Assume and feel the miracle as though it is already done. For in the realm of consciousness, the moment you accept a state as real, it becomes the seed of your future experience. You do not wait for evidence to appear in order to believe. You believe first, and the evidence must follow. The key lies in feeling, because feeling is the language of creation. When you allow yourself to dwell in the sensation of already possessing your desire, you impress that reality upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious, being faithful, expresses it without question. To assume is to step into the invisible and claim it as the only reality worth acknowledging. It means you close the door to doubt and choose instead to live from the end, seeing the world through the lens of your fulfilled desire. Every time your senses attempt to persuade you that nothing has changed, you return inward, and with quiet confidence you feel again the joy, relief, or gratitude that would naturally arise if your miracle were present now. This repetition of inner acceptance builds a new state of being, and once it is established, the outer world must reorganize itself to reflect it. Do not strain, do not beg, do not look to circumstances to validate you. For the power is not in circumstances, but in your assumption. When you carry yourself with the conviction that your miracle is complete, your actions, words, and responses all align with that state, creating channels through which the unseen becomes seen. The miracle is not summoned by effort, but by certainty, not by waiting, but by dwelling in the feeling of its completion. And in doing so, you live as the author of your destiny rather than a spectator of events. Preparation is inward, not outward. For the true work of manifestation begins and ends within the realm of consciousness. The world you see with your eyes is only a shadow, a reflection of the states you entertain in imagination, and to focus solely on arranging the external, without first aligning the inner, is to labor in vain. Outward preparation may appear useful, yet without the foundation of a transformed inner state, it has no lasting power. For circumstances arise not from effort alone, but from the silent conviction held within. When you prepare inwardly, you begin by entering the feeling of your desire already accomplished. You allow the scene to unfold in imagination until it becomes so vivid that you lose awareness of what is and become absorbed in what could be. This absorption is the secret, because what you accept and dwell upon in imagination impresses itself upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious is the womb of creation. Inward preparation means practicing the art of assuming the end, seeing yourself as the one who already possesses, already enjoys, already lives in the fulfillment of the desire. It means cultivating gratitude before the evidence appears, walking with the quiet assurance that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. Outward action then becomes a natural extension of this inner readiness rather than an anxious attempt to force results. The one who prepares inwardly carries an invisible atmosphere that attracts opportunities, connections, and resources in alignment with the assumed state. No striving, no desperation, only calm certainty that what is true within must inevitably reveal itself without. This is why so many exhaust themselves in outward striving yet see little change, while those who master the inner preparation seem to move effortlessly through life, as though doors open for them without struggle. The secret is not luck nor chance, but inward preparation, for the inner state is always the cause, and the outer circumstance the effect. To prepare inwardly is to honor the creative power within, and to live from the recognition that life does not respond to what you want, but to what you assume yourself to be. And once this inner readiness is established, the world cannot help but mirror it back to you. Do not question the how or when, for these are the doubts of the reasoning mind that seeks to control what belongs to the higher law of imagination. The moment you ask yourself how your desire will unfold or when it will come to pass, you step outside the creative state and place yourself back into limitation, because the finite mind cannot comprehend the infinite avenues through which life can operate. The how and the when are not your concern. Your only task is to assume the end and live as though it were already real. When you focus on how, you are attempting to calculate the path. Yet the path is not revealed by analysis, but by surrender. The subconscious mind, once impressed with your assumption, weaves together people, events, and circumstances in ways the intellect could never foresee, and it does so without effort, silently and unfailingly. To ask when is to imply that it has not yet happened, and to ask how is to confess disbelief in the unseen power already at work. Both questions betray impatience and doubt, and impatience is a denial of faith. True faith rests in the knowing that the seed has been planted and will grow in its own appointed season. You do not question how a seed buried in soil becomes a tree, nor do you demand to know the exact day it will sprout. You trust the process, water it with care, and allow nature to perform its miracle. So it is with your desires. Once assumed, they are already in motion, already alive, already moving toward expression. And your work is only to persist in the state of fulfillment. The world outside may appear unchanged, but underneath the surface the unseen power is arranging every detail with precision beyond your comprehension. If you look to the outer world for reassurance, you will be tempted to doubt when no evidence appears. But if you rest inwardly in the conviction of the wish fulfilled, you will find peace, for the result is certain. Life is filled with countless examples of desires manifesting in ways no one could have predicted. And this is the proof that the how and when belong to God, not to man. To persist without questioning is to align with the eternal law of consciousness. knowing that creation is finished and all you do is select the portion you wish to experience. The timing and method are not obstacles but opportunities for you to exercise faith, for faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. When you release the need to know how or when, you free yourself from struggle and allow the unseen to deliver your miracle in perfect order, often in ways that will leave you in awe of the intelligence that governs all things. Trust the unseen creative power within you, for it is the very essence of life that animates your being, the silent force that has brought every experience, every encounter, and every moment into existence. This power does not operate outside of you. It is within you, closer than your breath, nearer than your heartbeat, ever present and infinitely resourceful. It is unseen because it does not move with the clamor of the senses or the noise of the world, but it is felt in the stillness of imagination, in the quiet conviction that what you dare to assume will one day take form. To trust this power is to recognize that the invisible is greater than the visible, that the cause is always within and the effect always without. Every great transformation, every answered prayer, every so-called miracle has sprung from this inner source. For there is nothing created that was not first imagined. When you trust the unseen, you release the burden of control and allow the creative law to unfold its perfect pattern. You no longer demand proof before you believe, because you understand that belief itself is the proof. You no longer wait for signs in the outer world, because you know the sign has already been planted within your consciousness the moment you assumed your desire to be true. The unseen power within you is like the soil that receives a seed. It does not question what is planted. It does not resist. It simply brings forth after its kind. Whatever idea you persist in holding, whatever state you repeatedly return to, is nurtured by this creative power and inevitably grows into your reality. This process is certain, for the law cannot fail. It is impartial, consistent, and unfailing, responding to the content of your inner life with perfect fidelity. To trust it is to dwell in the end, to clothe yourself in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and to rest in the assurance that the unseen has already accepted your command. The outer world may show contradiction, delays, or obstacles, but these are only shadows that vanish before the persistence of an inner conviction. Trust does not waver when evidence is absent, because trust knows the evidence is already secured in a realm beyond sight. When you cultivate this kind of faith, you begin to live differently. You move with calmness where others are anxious. You speak with certainty where others are doubtful, and you act with assurance where others hesitate. This invisible power within you aligns circumstances, orchestrates encounters, and arranges details in ways that defy logic yet serve your assumption perfectly. The unseen creative power is the same power that hung the stars in the sky, that paints the sunrise each morning, that guides the tides of the ocean, and it is not apart from you. It operates through you, as you, responding to your inner speech, your sustained thoughts, your accepted feelings. To trust it is to walk in harmony with the deepest truth of your being, that imagination creates reality, and that what you dare to accept within will one day be clothed in the garments of experience. Each time you choose to believe more in the unseen than in appearances, you give this power freedom to move without hindrance, and you allow your life to become the unfolding expression of the limitless creative spirit within you. Gratitude activates the manifestation because it aligns your inner state with the frequency of already having, already receiving, already living in the fulfillment of your desire. Gratitude is not a passive emotion reserved for what has been given in the past. It is an active force that calls forth the reality you choose to inhabit. When you feel genuine thankfulness, you are declaring with conviction that what you seek is not distant, not uncertain, but already yours. This feeling of completion, of satisfaction, of abundance now impresses itself upon the subconscious mind, and the subconscious, being creative and faithful, expresses it in the outer world without fail. Gratitude, then, is more than polite acknowledgement. It is the key that opens the door to manifestation. When you say within yourself, "Thank you," even before the evidence has appeared, you step into the end. You live as one who already possesses, and in doing so, you bypass doubt, fear, and impatience. The ungrateful heart looks around and says, "It is not here yet, I still lack, I still wait," and so it perpetuates that state of waiting. But the grateful heart, even in the absence of outward proof, says, "It is done, I receive it, I rejoice in it." And thus the unseen power accepts that assumption as law and brings it to pass. Gratitude is the language of fulfillment, the inner song of completion, the vibration of abundance. And because the outer world reflects the inner state, gratitude magnetizes circumstances to match its tone. Consider how you feel when you are genuinely grateful. There is a lifting of the spirit, a sense of expansion, a quiet joy that radiates from within. This feeling itself is the evidence that you have stepped into the state of your desire. You do not need to force gratitude. You simply need to imagine yourself in possession of your wish, and then allow the natural emotion of thankfulness to flow from that vision. Gratitude is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, the assurance that creation is finished, and you are simply aligning yourself with the result that already exists in imagination. Gratitude also keeps you anchored in faith when appearances tempt you to doubt. The senses may insist that nothing has changed, that the miracle is far away, but gratitude whispers otherwise. Gratitude says, "It is already here, I feel it, I know it, I celebrate it." And in holding to that inner song, the outer world eventually must echo back the same melody. To live in gratitude is to live above circumstance, to walk with an unseen certainty, to radiate the assurance of one who knows that life responds not to pleading, but to thanksgiving. The power of gratitude is that it transforms the state of consciousness instantly. The moment you shift from complaint to thankfulness, from waiting to receiving, you have moved into alignment with the reality you desire. This shift does not require outer evidence. It requires only your willingness to accept that the unseen is greater than what the senses report. Gratitude does not beg, it does not question, it does not doubt, it rests, it celebrates, it rejoices. And because feeling is the secret, gratitude is the feeling that tells the subconscious, "This is true, this is real, this is mine." Every great manifestation is born in an atmosphere of gratitude. Those who live with thankful hearts continually experience more to be thankful for, because life multiplies what is acknowledged. Gratitude turns the smallest seed into a harvest, the faintest possibility into reality, the invisible desire into tangible form. It is the oil that keeps the lamp of faith burning, the nourishment that sustains the vision, the invisible magnet that pulls the unseen into the seen. To practice gratitude is to practice living in the end, to declare boldly through feeling that the miracle is already complete and you are rejoicing in its arrival. Gratitude is the sign of readiness, the seal of faith, and the undeniable activator of manifestation. Imagination is the womb of creation because every form, every invention, every miracle, and every transformation first existed as an unseen idea before it clothed itself in the garments of matter. Nothing you behold in the world today appeared by chance or without cause. It all began as a thought, a vision, a picture within the mind of one who dared to imagine. Just as the womb conceives, nurtures, and eventually gives birth to new life, so too does imagination conceive the invisible idea, nurture it through sustained attention, and bring it forth into visible expression. The outer world is only the offspring of imagination, and to understand this is to recognize that your imagination is the creative power of God in you. Imagination does not merely entertain idle fantasies. It is the workshop of reality itself. When you imagine with feeling, when you allow yourself to be absorbed in the end you desire, you are planting the seed of that reality within the fertile soil of your subconscious. The subconscious accepts what the conscious mind impresses upon it, and once a state is accepted, it must manifest in the outer world. This process is as certain as the law of growth in nature. The seed planted in the womb of imagination will bring forth after its kind, and it cannot be otherwise. Many dismiss imagination as childish or unrealistic, yet every advancement of civilization stands as testimony to its creative power. The airplane, the light bulb, the telephone, the very device you use to read these words, all were once intangible visions in the mind of their creators. These men and women trusted their imagination more than appearances, and by persisting in their inner vision, they brought the invisible into visibility. What you dare to imagine with conviction is no different. The only limitation is the degree to which you persist in the state of having it now. To treat imagination as the womb of creation is to approach it with reverence. You must guard what you allow yourself to dwell upon, for every image impressed upon the mind is a seed being planted. Idle worry, fear, or resentment are also forms of imagination, and when dwelt upon, they too are nurtured until they find expression in the outer world. Creation is impartial. It does not discriminate between what you call good or bad. It simply gives birth to what is conceived. Therefore, it is your sacred responsibility to choose wisely the states you assume, the pictures you paint, and the stories you rehearse inwardly. Imagination is most powerful when you enter it with feeling. Words alone, without conviction, do little. But when the image becomes alive within you, when you feel the reality of it so deeply that you forget for a moment the world outside, then the seed is truly planted. This immersion is the act of conception. Just as conception in the womb requires the union of elements, so too does imagination require the union of idea and feeling. The idea provides the form, and the feeling provides the life. Together they create the blueprint of your future experience. In moments of quiet meditation, when the senses are withdrawn and the mind is still, imagination reveals its full creative power. Here you can construct scenes that imply the fulfillment of your desire and lose yourself in the experience of them. These scenes, though unseen by others, are real to the subconscious, and the subconscious cannot distinguish between imagination and physical reality. What is vividly assumed inwardly will one day be witnessed outwardly. This is why Neville Goddard spoke so often of living in the end. For to dwell in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is to occupy the state of already having, and in occupying it you make it inevitable. The womb of imagination requires persistence, for just as no child is born the instant it is conceived, no desire manifests the moment it is imagined. There is a gestation period, a time during which the unseen is forming itself in ways you cannot yet observe. Impatience and doubt are like disturbances to the womb. They disrupt the process. But quiet faith, sustained assumption, and repeated immersion in the end nourish the conception until it is ready to be born. To understand this is to release anxiety about timing and to trust the creative law at work. Imagination also expands the boundaries of possibility. The senses tell you what is, but imagination tells you what can be. The senses report limitation, but imagination reveals infinite potential. When you choose to live more in imagination than in appearances, you step into the creative role of master rather than victim. You are no longer confined by what has been. You are free to create what shall be. The womb of imagination holds within it the capacity to birth realities beyond the scope of reason. For imagination is not bound by logic, time, or circumstance. It operates according to the higher law of consciousness. Every time you return to your inner vision, you are nurturing the seed. Every time you feel gratitude for its fulfillment, you are watering it. Every time you persist in the assumption despite contrary evidence, you are strengthening its roots. Eventually, the invisible seed must push through the soil of appearances and reveal itself as fact. This is not chance, not coincidence, but law. The law of consciousness is unfailing. What you conceive and sustain in imagination will be born into the world of experience. To grasp that imagination is the womb of creation is to awaken to your true power. You are never at the mercy of circumstance, never limited by the evidence of the senses, never without hope. The creative power of imagination is always with you, always ready to conceive and bring forth. The only question is what you will choose to imagine, what you will dare to assume, and what seed you will allow to grow within the sacred womb of your mind, live in expectancy and readiness. For the attitude you carry determines the experiences that unfold before you. To live in expectancy is to walk with the assurance that something good is always on its way. To stand in the silent conviction that your desire is already accomplished in the unseen and only awaits its perfect unveiling in the visible. Readiness is the companion of expectancy, for it is not enough to merely hope for a miracle. You must prepare inwardly as though the miracle were already yours. Expectancy without readiness leads to idle wishing, while readiness without expectancy becomes empty ritual. But when both are joined, You live in the state of fulfillment even before it has clothed itself in fact. Expectancy is a state of consciousness, a subtle vibration of assurance that shapes every thought, word, and action. When you truly expect your desire to manifest, you no longer speak of lack. You no longer dwell on impossibility. You no longer surrender to doubt. Instead, your mind naturally gravitates towards solutions, your eyes notice opportunities, and your steps are guided by the quiet confidence of one who knows the outcome is secure. The energy of expectancy transforms the way you carry yourself, for you begin to act as though your blessing were already here, and this very posture magnetizes the unseen power to deliver what matches your expectation. Life is always reflecting your inner state, and expectancy is the seed of fulfilled reality. Readiness deepens this expectancy, for readiness is the act of embodying what you inwardly assume. It is not frantic preparation or anxious striving, but a calm alignment with the reality you claim as yours. To be ready means to feel at home in the state of the wish fulfilled, to move through your days with the inner assurance that what you desire is part of your natural experience. Readiness may express itself in simple ways. The way you speak of your desire as though it were already present, the way you carry gratitude for something unseen, the way you allow joy to rise in you for what the senses have not yet confirmed. Readiness is the invisible agreement between your inner world and the miracle you have assumed. To live in expectancy and readiness requires the discipline of imagination, for imagination is the means by which you prepare inwardly. You create scenes that imply your desire is already fulfilled. You feel the joy of having received it, and you return to that inner state whenever the outer world tempts you to believe otherwise. Each act of imagining is a rehearsal of readiness, a practice of expectancy, and through repetition, it becomes a natural dwelling place of consciousness. The subconscious then accepts this state as real and begins to orchestrate the conditions necessary for its expression. When you live in expectancy, you are never shaken by appearances, for appearances are temporary shadows that must eventually yield to the inner conviction. Doubt may whisper that nothing is happening. Impatience may press you for timelines, but expectancy silences these voices with the quiet assurance of faith. You do not demand to know the hour or the method, for expectancy rests in the certainty that the result is already secured. Just as a farmer expects the harvest after planting the seed, so too do you expect the fulfillment after planting your assumption in the womb of imagination. The farmer prepares the soil, waters the field, and tends the crop, yet he does not sit in anxiety over how or when the growth will come, for he trusts the law of nature. Likewise, to live in expectancy and readiness is to trust the law of consciousness. Expectancy transforms your perception of time, for you no longer live in delay or longing. You are not waiting in the sense of absence. You are waiting in the sense of pregnancy, where the outcome is assured and the manifestation is simply in process. This expectancy fills each moment with quiet joy, for you are aware that your miracle is nearer than the breath you breathe. Readiness then becomes your natural posture, for you are always aligned with the reality you claim. You are ready to receive it, ready to embrace it, ready to live in it, even before it has taken shape in the outer world. The power of living in expectancy and readiness lies in its ability to shift your vibration instantly. The moment you decide to expect good, the moment you choose to prepare inwardly, you move out of the state of lack and into the state of fulfillment. This shift alone is enough to change the course of events, for the outer world must conform to the inner state you sustain. To walk in readiness is to embody the future you have chosen, to live today as though tomorrow's miracle were already complete. This creates a magnetic pull that draws your assumed reality into manifestation, because life always responds to the consciousness you occupy. Living in expectancy and readiness is not about forcing events, but about aligning with the flow of creation. You do not strain or struggle. You rest in the assurance that all things are working together for the fulfillment of your assumption. Your readiness is shown in the way you speak with certainty, the way you give thanks ahead of time, the way you maintain joy even when the senses suggest otherwise. Your expectancy is shown in the calm confidence that refuses to entertain failure or delay. Together, they create an atmosphere of inevitability, where your desire is no longer a question but a certainty. To live in expectancy and readiness is to live in faith, to walk in the unseen with the confidence of one who already possesses the promise. It is to keep your inner eye fixed upon the end, to carry gratitude as though the gift were already in hand, and to shape your inner world so completely that the outer world must bend to reflect it. This way of living lifts you above doubt, above fear, above circumstance, and places you in harmony with the creative law that governs all things. When expectancy and readiness become your natural state, miracles cease to appear as rare occurrences, and instead become the natural outpouring of the life you have chosen to imagine and embody. Your miracle is not distant. It is here, awaiting your acceptance, for what you seek is not hidden in some faraway place, nor delayed until some future time, but already existing in the unseen realm of imagination, waiting only for your recognition. The belief that your desire is far away, that it requires struggle or years of waiting, is an illusion born of the senses. For the senses can only report what has already been made manifest, not what is presently being prepared in the invisible. The truth is that creation is finished. All states of being already exist, and you move from one state to another through assumption. The miracle you long for is already present in potential, already alive in consciousness, already formed in the unseen. The only question is whether you are willing to accept it, to claim it as yours, and to live in the conviction that it is done. Acceptance is the key, for acceptance is the act of uniting yourself with the state you desire. To accept is not to beg, plead, or wait for permission from circumstances. It is to quietly affirm within yourself that what you desire is already yours, and to dwell in that feeling until it becomes more real than the evidence of the senses. Acceptance is a shift of identity, a movement from the state of longing to the state of having, from the posture of asking to the posture of receiving. The miracle does not need to be created anew. It is already established in the eternal realm of possibilities. Your role is to claim it by assuming the feeling of its reality now. When you say, "My miracle is here," you align yourself with the unseen truth. When you give thanks before the evidence appears, you prepare the soil of consciousness for the seed to break forth. When you walk as though your prayer were already answered, you set into motion the law that governs manifestation. The subconscious mind, which is the womb of creation, responds not to what you hope for tomorrow, but to what you accept as real today. It takes the assumption you persist in and gives it life, drawing circumstances, people, and events into harmony with that state. The miracle is therefore not summoned by effort, but by alignment, not created by struggle, but revealed through assumption. The tendency of the reasoning mind is to argue, "If my miracle were here, I would see it. If it were truly mine, I would hold it." But the truth is reversed. You will only see it when you first assume it within, and you will only hold it when you first claim it as yours in imagination. The senses cannot lead you into faith, for the senses only echo the past. It is imagination that leads you into the future, for imagination is the doorway through which the unseen becomes seen. By dwelling in the end, by feeling the reality of your miracle now, you make it inevitable. To live as though the miracle is already here is to train yourself to respond differently to life. Instead of speaking lack, you speak fullness. Instead of dwelling on absence, you dwell on presence. Instead of waiting for signs, you declare the sign has already been given within. This shift in attitude is not wishful thinking, but a profound act of creation, for the world outside mirrors the world within. When your inner state changes, the outer world must reflect that change, and what was once invisible to your senses begins to take form as experience. The miracle is here, not tomorrow, not someday, but now. To delay it by saying, "It will come when the time is right," is to deny the truth of your own creative power. The time is always now, for consciousness is always now. The moment you accept the miracle within, it is conceived, and once conceived, it must be born. Just as no child appears without conception, no manifestation appears without assumption. And just as conception guarantees birth, assumption guarantees manifestation, provided you persist and do not abandon the state. The readiness to accept is often hindered by doubt, by the belief that we are unworthy, or by the habit of postponing fulfillment into the future. Yet the law is impartial. It does not consider worthiness or unworthiness. It only reflects the state you occupy. If you dwell in lack, you experience lack. If you dwell in fulfillment, you experience fulfillment. Worthiness is not a condition imposed by God, but a concept imposed by man. The truth is that the miracle belongs to you because you exist, because you are a vessel of the creative spirit, because you are the imaginal power of God expressed as an individual. The moment you dare to accept this, you step into freedom. To cultivate acceptance, practice imagining scenes that imply your miracle is already complete. Feel the joy of having received it. Hear the words of congratulations. See yourself living in the state you desire. Let these imaginal acts be vivid and repeated until they become natural. When doubts arise, do not resist them with fear, but gently return to your vision. Remind yourself that the miracle is not coming from outside, but from within. The outer world is only the mirror. The source is imagination. Living in this acceptance transforms your daily life. You begin to carry gratitude not as a ritual, but as a natural expression of your inner state. You feel joy not because circumstances demand it, but because you know the truth of your unseen possession. You cease to chase after signs and instead live as one who already has. This change in vibration attracts experiences that match your conviction, and what seemed distant becomes visible. The miracle was never far away, it was only waiting for you to claim it. Imagine holding a letter of confirmation, hearing a voice of approval, or seeing yourself already walking in the fulfillment of your dream. These are not idle daydreams, but the very mechanism by which creation takes place. The subconscious accepts these imaginal acts as fact and sets about arranging life to make them so. Persist long enough, and the invisible becomes visible, the intangible becomes tangible, the unseen becomes seen. This is the law of consciousness, unchanging and certain. Your miracle is here, awaiting your acceptance. You need not chase it, strive for it, or beg for it. You need only assume it, feel it, and live in the joy of its reality now. When you stop postponing and start accepting, you shift into the state where the miracle already exists, and once you occupy that state, the world outside has no choice but to mirror it back to you. For life always yields to the image you hold within.